Somebody told me.
You park on the east side all the time.
Well, we weren't considering ourselves dignitary.
Oh. Mhm. Your wife's been good to have on our committee.
That's good.
I knew she would be.
She struggled with it, I know.
We all have.
Especially being they keep wanting to have the meetings on Wednesdays.
And more of them.
Yeah. I'd rather have them on Saturday.
Bill, I'm happy to do my job whenever it takes.
I'm not. Not on Wednesdays.
Is that your golf night?
Yes. The same group of guys goes out golfing every time. They get to do it during the summer. This is during the winter, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah. She's
The only
Feeling sorry for you.
socializing I do for the most part, other than having people crap at me.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll come around here. All right, well, I think it's 10 o'clock. Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion by Derby and seconded by Jensvold to approve minutes and agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Discussion with possible action regarding
Has joined.
additional home-based Iowa incentives for Winnebago County.
I put this on there in case you wanted to add something. Worth County yesterday said that if they did anything extra, they would want to offer a hotel overnight to people who come and interview in the county. I told them the logistics of that we could discuss at our October board meeting, and we can always add on any incentives at a later date.
Through the Windward Vetco.
Worth County would reimburse one Winnebago and one they suggested, and one Winnebago would pay up front, but then we'd get reimbursed from Worth County for that additional incentive, unless it's going to be equal across the board. Then I could justify it coming out of Winnebago's budget, but that was they decided to table it until after the next exec board meeting for Winnebago. But if you, as Winnebago County, wanted to offer anything extra, I plan on submitting the paperwork to Home Base Iowa tomorrow.
Oh, the only thing I thought of, if there was some kind of clean water stuff we could do, for a couple of years through the ARPA funds. They were going to be in the rural part of it, an incentive.
To encourage more of the rural part of it? And what do you see that including? Would that be?
Updating sanitary sewer or well and or well.
With the purchase of an acreage?
Yeah. Because when you purchase an acreage, if it's not from a family member, you have to update your sewer system if it's not up to date. The well, if we I think right now, if a landowner wants, they can cap a well and we reimburse part of that. So it's like there's some of that money already there being expended.
What's it cost to cap a well?
top of my head.
Yeah, I've seen it in the claims. So, somewhere in that neighborhood, I'm sure it's probably gone up, but
So what kind of dollar amount were you considering or thinking about? A dollar amount? I like the idea of encouraging acreage,
there's a lot of acreages out there not being utilized.
yeah. And some of the wells are probably still usable. You know, that they wouldn't have to cap them, but they could do improvements of some sort. Because weren't you saying, or who was telling us that there's, oh, that was the gentleman that was here from home base, that that a lot of veterans are interested in farms and acreages. Didn't he have a list of names even?
And so,
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
so X amount of dollars to assist with the purchase of a rural farm towards sewer or water or both.
Towards,
Yeah.
I suppose we can,
What do they call it? What, fresh water? What do they call
clean
it?
water, it's part of the Clean Water Act, or,
Clean Water Act. Is that too hard to explain? I mean,
We can word it.
Either the well or the sewer.
yeah, if they have to drill a new well or something, they could go towards that, or,
so
they
if
have
it
to
was,
update the sewer, it could be up to a certain amount, or,
Yeah, I understand it's pretty expensive, but
yeah.
but I mean, it's $500 isn't gonna do a whole lot towards that, or 1,000.
Well, yeah, well's gonna be well above that. It's,
Is there already an incentive for this, for regular people?
the only incentive for regular people is if you're gonna cap the well,
Okay.
not use it anymore. We're trying to get away from that. What do you guys think?
I like the idea of it, I just don't know how much money we have to put.
Winworth is, we put it in up to 6 per year between the two counties. So
For that $1,000.
for that $1,000, so it wouldn't be more than 6 per year. If Winnebago County got all of the veterans for that calendar, or for that year.
And we have to expend any of the ARPA monies by 26, is it?
I mean, like, what dollar amount is gonna make that incentive look,
Stand out.
yeah.
Don't we need to have a ARPA committee meeting if we're gonna?
If you're gonna use ARPA funds, I suppose. Mhm.
well, we're gonna probably wanna do this longer than what the ARPA funds are around anyway, so
Right.
at some point it would, or should it just be in the,
I guess my thought was to utilize them for as long as we could, and then afterwards, try to find it in the budget to, if it's long reaching, it'd be nice to utilize some of these.
I mean, like Worth County's incentive, that's worth, what, $500? Is it for somebody, for each person? Because if they're gonna stay 2 nights in a hotel, it's,
Yeah, out at the casino, probably is
Mhm.
where they would stay at $120 a night.
okay, so it'd be more like $250.
increase the value of the acreages and bring them on the tax rolls better, I mean, it's worth the investment that way, so, in a sense, because I hate to see the acreages all,
Me too.
even though it's a lot easier for the farming when they're not there.
I guess, we used to give a $5,000 incentive for somebody building a new house, but if we did the same money for clean water updates, I think
A lot of the acreages, you almost have to go
when do you need this information now?
I was gonna submit the paperwork tomorrow. If you, like with Worth County, if you'd like to table this, we can always add the incentive at a later date, preferably before November 13th, because that's when our event is going to be.
November 12th.
November 12th.
Yeah.
To announce it.
I guess I like that idea so that we can come up with some type of incentive that actually is gonna be an incentive.
Mm-hmm.
Can we table it?
It's fine.
Do you wanna, should we set a deadline to make a decision?
Yeah, sure. Sure, we like deadlines.
What's your thought?
You wanna table it for what reason?
Well, just so that we can know where the funds would come from. If we had another ARPA meeting, we could maybe know if there was,
The first couple of years.
yeah, that could help pay for. And then maybe it might be more substantial.
So maybe if we set a deadline in a month or so, and have an ARPA meeting before then.
Yeah. Deadline of,
September 6th is 4 weeks out.
that works.
What is
September 6th.
September 6th is what?
4 weeks out.
4 weeks.
It's 3.
Is it? Well, apparently I can't count that.
Oh, what is
You're just thinking it's,
But that's fine with me. I'm sure we could
I
probably.
think
get
I
through
think
it
that's
in
still
ARPA
fine.
before then.
We can have some discussions about it.
You think we could organize the ARPA meeting next Tuesday?
Yep.
Okay.
Allison has joined.
Okay. So we're gonna table this till September 6th.
Was there any other action you needed for tomorrow?
Just the next one for the application.
Can we go to 3? Consider for approval home-based Iowa application for Winnebago County.
So this is just what you had shown us before, the
Yep.
application to be a part of that.
With the possible addition of adding an additional incentive.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the home-based Iowa application for Winnebago County.
I'll second it.
Motion by Jensvold and seconded by Derby to approve the home-based Iowa application for Winnebago County. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passed. Good, all right. Talk some more, I guess. All right, number 4, we have the Honorable Doug Harmon, Mayor of Scarville, to discuss the county letter of support for CAT grant with possible action.
We are trying to build, Terry, trying to build a new fire station / community hall in Scarville. I've been working on it for a couple years now, and I'm finally to the finance and funding stage of it. We have hired NICOG to write a CAT grant for us. We're going after, excuse me, $150,000 grant from them. The only real stipulation in it is that we have to have county and community support. And the form of county support is $10,000 from the Winnebago County and a resolution that you support it. Nobody has any extra money laying around. I'm willing to pay it back if we get the grant and not take any of the money if we don't. So, can be really no teeth in it for you if you will give us your support. The I'm waiting to hear from Heartland. We have to have 65% of the funding before we can apply as the other. All this should be done, I should know on all of my financing stuff by November, I believe. So I should know by then. I think the actual application has to be in January. There's some other steps that we have to do to get to it. But if I don't have your support, then I don't really need to bother moving forward. But the big catch for us, we have the financing coming, or the funds coming for it with our TIF funds, but are unable to borrow that kind of money because we don't have the tax base. So that's why, well, if we can actually get it, why would you pass up free money? So. Joyce got it when they did their improvement in their library and community center.
Is that how they did it too, with a payback, or?
I don't know if how the county did on theirs, if they gave them 10 grand or if they paid back. I didn't ask on that. But we have.
And was it 10 grand they got then?
Yeah, that's kind of the base requirement. It has to be at least that amount to even apply. I shouldn't say, he said you can apply, but they won't look at you. So. And we have, and I was really quite surprised. We didn't advertise it really to speak of. Did fundraiser on the 4th of July. Excuse me, the 4th of July. The firemen did. The most they've ever grossed on a meal was $5,000, and they brought in over 15 grand just by having a sign up. They were all floored, and so was I, because this volunteer stuff, if you don't have somebody back there dotting the I's and crossing the T's, the publication stuff is the one thing that really falls through the cracks on that stuff. So it didn't really,
So
there was no real advertisement for it.
one of the things you and I talked about was that in Scarville, they don't really have the perfect place for the
Our defibrillator,
defibrillator.
we don't have any place for it. It's
then-
locked up in the fire hall. I tried to get, we have no place, it needs to be in climate controlled, I can't have it outside. Well, there's no place in town that's not locked except for the lobby of the post office. Do you suppose they'd let me put it in there?
So that
That's
kind of actually perked up my ears and thought, you know what, you've got a new place, you can make it so that the right people could have the access to.
We're actually planning on having a lobby area that goes into a public restroom that will be open 24/7 and would mount that in there so it's access to everyone in the community. And then we could have
People trained
and some people, well, we could do it, yearly or something where we could train whoever wants to, how to use it. But, yeah, that's we had a person die in town that they thought could be saved if we'd had one, Terry Keeper, a few years back. And so we got one then, but then I was stuck with no place to put it. I stopped short of calling my congressman, but I called everybody in the post office trying to get to hang that in there. I just about hung it up there without their permission. Knew they'd come after me, so I didn't. But
So timeline wise, the commitment of this money would be by when? I mean, the actual transaction of the money, would it be after July 1 of next year? You think?
I guess I do not know. He didn't actually tell me if I
But
need
we're
a
working
check
with the
from
nature
you.
center. He says, it could be later in the project type thing as long as you commit it.
And I believe that's the way he talked, was I need a commitment. He didn't say anything to me about dollar, when I needed to see the actual cash. As far as we go, I don't see any expenditure happening until April, May.
Just to get it started.
Yeah,
Or
but I've got
design work or.
funds for that kind of stuff, so it's not anything that I need from you guys. I have not signed anything with anybody. We've got an engineer online and that kind of stuff, but I can't commit until I have financing. And I haven't got, like I said, I'm working with Heartland Co-op and MBT, and then started on the grants and stuff. We received one grant, so I think we've got just short of $30,000 without really doing any effort on it yet to speak of.
Will it be in the same location?
Yeah, we toyed with some other locations around town. One of the reasons was to leave that there and build elsewhere in stages, since we can only borrow 300 grand. But then dealing with bond council and also with Heartland, I think I can get enough funds borrowed. And then if we were to get this grant, and I know there would be an issue, but to get at least all of the fire end of it done, we'd maybe do the inside of the community fire hall later, because we have one that's functioning, so we wouldn't have to have that immediately. We could pay down.
Put up the shell for now.
Yep, get it all heated and operational for the firemen, and then a year later, we could do the community center if we need to. The only reason it's that much in the air is when COVID hit, the price went just right through the roof on it. I was cash flowing at max maybe $550, and it went to $750 to $950 on it, just like that. Now, some of that's come down, but what it will be when we actually get to it, I don't know. Part of it also is I've got planned under the community center an 8-foot system that'll hold 70,000+ gallons of water for fire protection. We have nothing in town other than the 10,000 buried leaks right now. So that would give us enough water, and then we'd plumb a hydrant off of it as well, so we'd have a hydrant in town, or fire hydrant, so that we at least have enough to, get a fire knocked down somewhere in the area before trucks have to show from out of town, like Mills or Evans or somewhere in Thompson. So that's part of the
Yeah.
added expense on the building itself.
So it's really none of my business, but it has 5-star. I mean, it's kind of your major business in town. Have they
And
stepped up?
I'm sure they will. I have not, we aren't that far in this, Cat. If I don't have you guys, it's no sense going any further. So that's why I'm starting here. But yeah, we'll be hitting up all community businesses and any kind of individuals. We've gone through and listed some of the bigger contributors. That the more we can show, the better chance it is to get this grant. So, area and community support, and are sending out letters to all the area fire departments. We'll be doing it to other city councils, all that kind of stuff.
So, is there any discussion? It's on the agenda with possible action as well, so.
I guess if we were gonna do it, I'd like to, only commit to it now with budgeting for it next year. So we're gonna do an amendment this year.
Yeah.
So it'd be after the 1st of July, is the budget.
Okay. I don't think that'll be an issue. I'll check and make sure.
I think that's the way we've done it this time.
Okay.
When we did the Fine Arts Center, that was money we had sitting there,
Yeah.
That was only 5,000 they did there. You guys,
Ron,
I think it's,
we don't have a budget for this year, so we just go do it sure.
as long as it still works for, if you don't get the money until after.
you wanna make a motion for that?
I do wanna make a motion. Make a motion to support a $10,000, do I do the resolution part of it, Carla? Am I making the motion for the resolution? So that I can sign it today, or?
Says letter of support, that's pretty much what that resolution is.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a resolution, so I just
Oh.
have a letter of support on the agenda, so.
Okay. Can I, well, to support the letter of support for the CAT grant for Scarville's
In the
fire
amount of
station in the
10,000.
amount of 10,000.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion by Smith, seconded by Derby to support the CAT grant. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck with
How
that.
Appreciate
how
it.
much was the possible grant?
150,000. So,
I'm sure you said it earlier.
yeah, for this, that's huge.
Yeah.
Is that for another day?
Yeah, I can put that on the agenda for next week.
Okay.
to do
Yeah.
that.
You can just email a copy of that to me then, the resolution after you sign it and stuff.
You might
Glad
want,
you're here. Thanks,
you might
guys.
want a signed, you might want a signed copy for them, I don't know,
Yeah, most people accept the
emailing it.
email version anymore, but I'll ask them. I
Alright.
can shoot you a text or something. So.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Doug. All right. Scott Minders. Hey, Scott, we're ready for you. Thank you.
You know what, I think we can just treat this as the letter of support and just,
It looks like a letter of support, basically.
so. 8. You just need to sign it, Susan.
I like the idea of them having a new fire station, but I really like the idea of them having a place for that defibrillator
I think the water storage is big.
and the water. Yeah, that's a great idea. Did we pay for these soil borings already?
No.
Probably should have done something else before. Yeah, 9:30.
I know.
We've got 2 minutes.
Works for me. I'll give you a quick project update. Our crew is currently working on the D11W1 bridge replacement project north of Osmus Farm Supply. Planning to set the box on Thursday. And if all goes well with that, they should have things opened up middle of next week. Most likely the next project that we'll work on, if precast is available and we can get dates set to have it delivered and set in the hole by a crane, we'll move on to G16N1 bridge replacement project, which is kind of more close to Rembrandt. And then we'll see where we're at. And we'll have two major projects remaining at that point with our own crews. Heartland Asphalt's planning to move in tomorrow to start milling north of Lake Mills. They'll have a few days worth of milling work, and then they'll be followed by the cold in place recycling train, which may be a few days after. Both of those are just one lane operations, so pretty minimal impact to traffic for that.
Did you say that starts at the north or the south?
We'll most likely start from the north end and work south. Yep. They'll be storing their milling pile at the county shop, so they like to shoot their trucks the way that they're going so they don't turn around loaded. So we'll have a couple months of that project kind of sporadically. There's several phases that'll all be separated by a few days.
Sorry.
No problem. And no other updates. I'll remind everybody that the bridge on 842 west of the feed mill is planned to be started around the 1st of September. I don't have confirmation dates yet, but basically the contractor's waiting on the availability of box culvert supplies.
Who was doing that again?
PCI.
Yeah, it's too bad they couldn't have got that one done a little earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, this year, getting box culverts has been the defining part of the schedule.
This one shouldn't take that long.
Shouldn't.
Yeah.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on weather and a couple other factors. I can see them getting done in 2 weeks. At least with the box part. Get the paving patch in and stuff like that. We'll see, but we'll get it back open to traffic some way or the other.
Okay.
You probably want to, you gonna leave it like gravel over the winter, or
I'd rather not. We aren't planning to.
you can get it packed good enough without,
Not perfect, but we'll try, and if we need to fix a patch, we'll do that rather than leave it. They're really hard to maintain.
What's the patch end up being, like 50 feet or something, or?
Hopefully, something like 50 feet. We'll see when, they'll take out what they need, and that's kind of hard to estimate. So, something like 50 feet, I think, is what we have marked on the plans.
speaking of 842, right out by, goes to Blacktop, goes north just between the curves there.
A44.
844. Right about there's a pretty good pothole where people are dropping in and, splashing the gravel off as the water's building.
It's just in the shoulder, you mean?
It's right on the shoulder on the eastbound side. Looked like it could be a little treacherous for a vehicle with smaller tires.
Okay.
All right. That's all there is. Thanks, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Be safe out there. All right, we're gonna skip drainage, and because it is 9:32, Alyssa is here.
Yeah.
Right, Alyssa, to discuss COVID-19 policy.
Oh, thank you for letting me come up here and talk to you guys. I'm here along with a couple other people, a couple other nurses from public health, wanted to talk to you guys about considering re-implementing a COVID leave policy. Back at the February 22nd meeting, when you guys decided to let it expire on March 1st, a female, when I was watching it, it was kind of hard to determine who, but I'm assuming Susan said, let you guys know if it's an issue not having that policy. and we're here to let you know that it is an issue. Just kind of starting right out with that, I don't think that I am irresponsible with my leave time. Going all the way back to October, I had 80 hours. I've worked here for years. I earn a good amount of vacation, sick time. Thought 80 hours was sufficient. Ended up having emergency surgery, off for 2 weeks, ate all my time up. Had to try to start rebuilding everything up again because of the fact that public health has to follow federal policy CMS guidelines for when we have to be off for symptoms. I've had to be off for various reasons because I have a stuffy nose, I have allergies, I have a cough. That's a guaranteed 8 hours that I lose. Even though I'm willing to come into work, I have symptoms. I have to stay home. I don't have a choice. Well, I found out the summer I had to have surgery again. Saved up as much as I could. Ended up having my surgery. Came back before my 6 weeks that was recommended by a doctor. Got the okay. Ended up having to take a week without pay. Back to work. Came back, was back for 2 weeks. Last weekend, tested positive for COVID. So, because of thankfully being able to get comp time working as a public health employee, I was able to have a few hours of pay. But again, now I'm with another week basically of no pay. And I don't know about anyone else here, but I rely on my paycheck. And I know I'm not the only person at public health that could be in this situation. We have a lot of people that are low on their sick time, that are low on their vacation time because they choose to use their vacation for vacation, how we should be able to use it. And when we have to not be able to come into work because we have a stuffy nose, we have a cough, even though we know it's allergies, we can't come in. If you have loose stools or vomiting because you ate something that made your stomach off, we can't come in for at least 24 hours. Well, if you wake up with that, that's 2 days because you got to be 24 hours symptom free. Even though we are willing to come into work, we are not allowed to. So we are being forced to use our time even though we want to be at work. And this eats up our time that is supposed to be a benefit to us. You know, it puts us in a really unfair situation because we can't use our benefit, something that's supposed to be a benefit for all employees, equally as everyone else in the courthouse because we have to save extra time because we have to worry about if we get allergies. Or we have to put our moral values on the line and think, are we going to be reporting this to our supervisor, or are we going to go and hope that it is just allergies and not COVID and go see our 90-year-old client or a client that just got out of the hospital and is on IV, and Lord knows what they contracted in the hospital because we all know that the hospitals are nothing but petri dishes. You know, unfortunately, everyone is so sick of COVID. I know it. I'm sick of it. I'm ready to scream with COVID. But it's not going away. We're back in high transmission. You know, they're saying that this isn't going to turn into an endemic until 2024. That's a whole nother year and a half. I really understand wanting to try to keep things fair, but if you don't want to do a COVID leave policy countywide, I don't think that you can ask public health to be using our vacation and comp and sick time at a higher rate, and because that's not fair. I mean, we don't have the same benefit. It is not the same benefit as everyone else in the county then. we can't use our vacation just how we want. Because we have to have extra time.
Okay, Alyssa, I'm gonna just go ahead and did either of the other gals that are here, are you wanting to speak to this at all?
My concern is I want people to know
Can
that
you say your name, please?
Barb Wolf.
Thank you.
I do at least once or twice a month, because before we go to see clients, we do have to screen and ask. You know, we have to take their temperature, and then I usually call mine and ask a series of questions. I do at least once or twice a month have somebody who either has symptoms or has tested positive. I still have to see them if needed. Whether it's a court-ordered injection or something that they need to see. We have a protocol we have to go by. They're usually the last person we see that day, and then we have to put full PPE on, which includes the gowns, the gloves, the glasses, the N95 mask. I have a kit in my car that we go by that we have to use, and I do go through at least 2 kits a month. So I do want people to know that we still do come into contact with the risk of it. I did just have to use one last week. Okay, so there is still that risk. I also want people to know that school is starting. So there's also going to be that increased risk. And I don't want you to think just because I'm 53 that I'm not in school, because my daughter is a freshman. So that's also a risk. I do want you to also know that with the public, we have an increased risk. I have not been tested recently. It was not in the protocol to be tested, and I did ask Allison, but I was in the hospital 2 weeks ago, not for myself, but because my father-in-law was dying, and I needed to go for my own personal reasons to say goodbye to him in the ICU. He did pass, and there was family from out of town in the area, so I was personally around other people who might have brought it to the area. There was no policy brought up that I needed to be tested personally. I did not have any increased signs and symptoms, but that also put, an increased risk personally, with my family, with the age of my children, with things that were going on, and because of my job. So, we all have that going on too. So I just wanted to bring that out, that we all still have our normal lives, and then we have our job too. So I just wanted to bring that out, that I had that risk from my job, I had that risk from my personal life, and it's still out there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Did you have
I'm
anything?
Randy. Randy, I'm a nurse, and same situation. We have mandatory 10 days off, whereas the normal public only has 5. They did just change it last week, I guess, the CDC did. But healthcare workers are still required to be off for 10 days, which the general public is not.
Okay, Allison, are you on the phone?
Yep, I'm here. Do you have questions for me?
I don't know if we have any questions.
I do.
Okay,
Will this change with the new CDC guidelines? Will that change to the 5 days instead of 10 days?
It could. I haven't seen any new directive for healthcare providers from the CDC at this point. I'm guessing it could change at any time.
But the latest last week was still 10.
The latest last week wasn't an update for healthcare. That was just like general population.
Ellison, I thought Julie told me that you could test again at 7 if you were symptom-free.
Yep, we can test. So it's 10 days. We can test on day 7 if we have improved symptoms, no fever, and if we test negative on day 7, they could come back.
Okay.
We're in a crisis staffing situation, and I don't have that defined by any means, but if we had, multiple nurses out, multiple home care aides out, then we could do 5 days. But we do have to be in a crisis staffing situation to do that.
Why would allergies come into play?
Same signs and symptoms as COVID.
Yeah, but if you tested negative for COVID, then it shouldn't matter.
If you have the symptoms, you have to be off for 24 hours.
Well, then I should get out of here because I've had loose stools all my life.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
I should get out of here.
yeah. See, that's what's hard. That's what's hard.
It's ridiculous.
It is.
Yes, it is.
It is ridiculous. Some of it is very ridiculous.
But
See, try to
you're
manage
able
both
to
systems.
distance yourself a little bit farther than I
I'm
am from
around
my
people all the
client.
time.
Are you in their, yeah,
Uh,
respectfully, are you right in their face, taking their vitals and everything?
Yeah, but when you're talking to people, you're standing right next to them, all that stuff, general public, and people coming up to me, talking to me all the time. I mean, we've all had those risks all throughout history.
We're seeing a different population though. We are going into people's homes that are homebound, they have multiple comorbidities. We are their only lifeline. Majority of our patients, we're the only ones they see all week. It's us nurses and our aides. That's all they see on a
And I-
weekly basis.
And if you've got something that's contagious, I don't have a problem. I know what you're saying as far as, not creating the risk of spreading it to the people you're taking care of or whatever, or the ones, them spreading it to you. I mean, I understand that part. What I don't understand is why things that have nothing to do with COVID, that just have similar symptoms, if they have tests, don't they have ones that you can take and find the results in the same day?
So Allison, is that a federal requirement though? Or what's the?
So, no, so what we do is if someone reports a COVID symptom, we have to obviously rule out COVID before they can work. What gets tricky is the vomiting and diarrhea. That is typically, yes, 24 hours, even if they're testing negative with COVID, because even pre-COVID, that was always fever, vomiting, diarrhea. And I get like if somebody has irritable bowel or something where they have a digestive thing that they know that that's not a COVID symptom. But sometimes it's hard to know if was it something I ate or, so yeah, if they wake up stuffy, we have to rule out COVID with our rapid test.
So if they test negative that morning, they can come into work that morning.
If they feel okay and test negative, yes, then they would report.
Certain foods can create
Absolutely.
diarrhea. So, I mean, so then you gotta start controlling your diet. I mean,
We aren't being
Unless you're
reckless with
testing
it.
positive,
We're
I
purposely
can't-
getting sick.
what's that?
We aren't purposely getting sick. We aren't reckless with it.
No. All I'm saying is you shouldn't have to.
Well, that's not our choice
Control
either.
your diet, because, I mean,
I think one of the big differences is, and I could be wrong, but people in the public, most of the people here, if not everyone, has to follow county and state guidelines. We have to follow federal guidelines for our funding, for our licensures, that's what we have to follow. As we all know, our county, our state guidelines are a lot looser than federal. I mean, we're still under a federal pandemic according to what the federal law states, federal emergency, it's still a pandemic. I know Governor Reynolds, let that proclamation expire a long time ago, but according to federal, we still are under the pandemic. And we have to follow those regulations, not the state. And I think that's a big difference for us compared to a lot of the other employees
how
here.
much money do we get from the federal?
Medicare, Medicaid, it's all our patients. Not all, a majority.
In order to see those patients, you gotta,
We have to be vaccinated, we have
maybe we should
to.
just quit seeing those patients and then the federal government can take care of it.
Well, then you would lose pretty much all of us. I mean, we'd all be out of a job and, I mean, if that's
Nursing
the,
homes would be full.
Well,
if that's the
somehow-
case, that's the
What I'm saying
case.
is somehow we gotta change it to where it's something that's reasonable.
I have a question, just as a public. So, I commend you guys and I thank you for all that you guys have done the last whole pandemic. But if you are truly worried about it, why are you not wearing a mask right now? I mean, we don't know that AJ doesn't have it,
Right, it's true.
and you're sitting right there.
We're
In your
only-
position, because you do have to see these people who are deathly sick and everything, I would, if that were my job, I would just wear one all the time, just because you don't know. And to protect yourself, because you know you can get it from AJ, and then you don't have the time to take off. I got it 6 weeks ago, and I don't know where I got it.
Yeah.
It took my 10 days, or my 5, and then I came back with a mask for a couple.
We do wear masks when we're with the patients.
Oh, for sure you do. But, you know, if you're really worried about it, I would wear one all the time, just to protect yourself.
You know, there's statistics out there that show that everybody was wearing masks and everybody got it.
Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I-
I mean, we can't
the
get away from
masks-
it. That's horrible.
Unless you're wearing like my paint mask where there's complete filtration on everything. I mean, when I'm wearing a mask at a basketball game and my glasses are steaming up,
Right.
you know,
So-
it's,
Let's,
So I've got a question for Kelsey. if
Yep.
you can.
yeah, that's where I was
Yeah,
gonna
because I
head.
actually have to leave at 10 for a court hearing down in Hancock, so sorry. but-
So, you know, they're requesting to almost, you know, specifically do something for public health, but we can't single out
Right.
anything. We have to do it for the whole county work.
So I think the difference is if they're required to take 10 days versus 5 and the rest of the county isn't, you could probably put a policy in place that would help with
The
the
differential.
difference. It does get a little tricky because you don't want to be quote unquote favoring, you know, one department over another. But that is like one distinct difference because
We
right now
identified
it's
well,
5 days for
one,
us.
one department has different set of rules than the other two though. So
Right.
it's almost not like favoring in a sense.
Right, well, exactly, and that's what I mean, is
Yeah.
you could potentially justify that. We just wanna make that clear in the policy. I think, that's something we'll have to put pen to paper and see how it would look, but I would, if you give me some direction, I can do that. But, so, I think you can do that given the change now, or the difference. Now, if their standard goes back to, or goes down to the 5 days, which is what everyone else is at, then I don't know that you can justify treating them
So we
differently.
just put in the policy when federal mandate requires them to.
Take 10 days off, they can be compensated for 5,
then
or
it-
something, you know,
so-
something like that.
So if the federal mandate drops, then that rule just automatically drops. We don't have to change the policies.
You could do that, yeah.
Just identify it in the policy
Yep.
as such.
So it would
So it would
just be
just
in
be
the
that
verbiage.
second week. It wouldn't be the first week.
Right.
And then,
In which they don't always have the second full week, it sounds like, because at 7 days, they should be testing, and if they're negative, they should be coming back to work is what Alice, if their symptoms are improving, et cetera, et cetera.
I guess I'm willing to look at something like that.
I think we can certainly explore that and with your help, Kelsey.
Sure.
And look at it and then see, because if there is a different federal policy for one particular group, then it's worth looking at.
And I assume public health would be the only department in the whole county that would fall under that, right?
They're the only ones that have the.
The Medicaid, Medicare fund, yeah.
I don't have a problem with, I don't want to see anybody suffer because I just have a problem with some of the protocols that come along with the federal stuff. That's where I have the problem. I don't have a
Frustrated
problem.
with it too.
I don't think any of you guys should have to suffer because of rules that are made by someone else.
I mean,
But then
I
also-
felt good on Wednesday last week and I wanted to come back to work, but
But then also, why
Today's my
should
first day back.
someone else have to pay for someone else's stupid rules?
yeah.
You know, I mean,
But now you're
it's,
talking about another level.
yeah.
Yeah. If we want the federal funding, they have to comply with the federal rules. That's all there is to it. There's no way around it. So as far as like the 24-hour thing, I mean, based on what Allison is saying, if it's, you know, allergy type symptoms, you guys are able to test, and if you're negative, you're able to work. So I don't know that that really comes into play, other than fever, vomiting, diarrhea, which frankly, I think most people stay home if they
They
have
should, yeah.
those symptoms.
Well, they're probably
anyway.
not able to do their job
Well,
very well.
Right.
If you're fever and vomiting,
you stay home.
Nobody wants,
then
nobody
if
wants
you have
to.
diarrhea, you know it's because you're sick. But I mean, there's,
But that is stuff that also eats up our time, that makes it hard
Right,
to be
yeah.
able to
I understand.
build up, like, for someone like me, and I'll make it selfish, who I've ate up all my time between 2 surgeries and now COVID in the last year, to try to build time back up if I get diarrhea again or vomiting. It's hard to build up when now I gotta be off for 24 hours because I ate something wrong and, you know.
well, I should get a job there. I'd be perpetually on
I don't think,
But even, like,
I
I'm
don't
in the
think they
same
want
boat.
you.
I
I
don't
don't
have a
think
lot of
I
sick
want
time, I've had things.
I don't want you there either.
And it is hard,
Yes, it is.
you know, but that's, I just have to do it. I mean, it's,
Exactly, and that's what
whether
I
we go
mean.
no pay, whether we do whatever, we just have to suck it up. We take our no pay when we have to or whatever, or try to earn what you can, but that's the policy. I don't know why you, that's just the way it is. So we just have to do it.
When I
You know.
was well, I'm still kind of self-employed, but when I was self-employed driving my truck, if I was sick, I just didn't get any money. So then I had to work twice as hard when I wasn't sick.
So, do you want me to draft a proposed policy then? Is that what I'm hearing, or what's the plan?
I'm interested in it.
I guess I'd like to see what it looked like.
Okay.
Just,
Would it be a mandatory test on day 7 to see if they can come back to work? If that's the policy, I mean, obviously that might all change once,
I think we'd have
if the
to,
guidelines change, so.
I mean, what's the guidelines say, Allison? Because is it per staffing with the 7 days, or is it per your discretion, or?
No, the conventional, according to the chart, that's the conventional, 10 days out or 7 days with a negative test as long as you're feeling improved and have mild illness. So, and then the next phase over would be the 5 days if we were having staffing issues.
well, I guess I'd say we'll look at it. Certainly, we're not promising anything
Yeah,
here,
and
we,
that's all I request, is it to be looked at.
and just so you know, there's been a lot of other departments that have had long, extended issues. I mean, people have babies, people get COVID, so, just so you know, we will look at it though.
Yeah, I think that's where you might run into some pushback, is I'm sure there are other people in this courthouse who have had to take unpaid days.
I'm sure of it,
A lot of them.
Yeah.
so, there's
And I
lots of
understand that,
situations.
but I just, like I said, going back to the meeting, you had mentioned that you wanted to know if it was an issue, and
Yeah.
I feel it is an issue, and I mean, we do, down at Public Health, I know not everyone in the courthouse agrees, but not everyone in the courthouse understands what we do. I mean, when things were limited up here, we were still in the public doing what we've always done. So that's why I wanted to bring it to your attention, and then you had asked to bring it up here so
Yeah.
we could talk about it with everyone.
Good,
Our rules haven't changed in 2 years. We're still in 2020
Yeah.
with our rules.
Unfortunately, and we're tired of it, but
yeah.
what choice do we have?
Well, I think it's gonna be interesting to see how this recent lawsuit was just handled at North Shore Hospital,
Yeah.
and how that's gonna affect the rest of the country.
Yes, it's everything.
That mandate was not identified properly.
That's what happens when you give someone else your money and then they give some of it back to you with strings attached.
We hand you the soapbox, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Any other questions for me before?
I think you kinda got an idea.
I'll put something together and then I'll just email it to you guys if that's okay. And then that way we, say that again. And do not reply, I'll probably put that in there as I always do.
That's good.
And then maybe we can talk about it. I'll have court next week, but I should be able to come down at some point. I'll look at my schedule, so. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, let's see if we can keep Chris here. Can we keep you here, Chris?
You're
Oh,
up.
I just wondered where you were.
We're up to you.
Oh, okay,
We're to you.
sounds good. The only thing I have is DD 11 main tile. There are still some landowners who haven't mitigated their acres. And I did look at the letter yesterday. There is no end date. There was no end date. I
thought there was
do,
supposed to be about a year, wasn't there?
there's no end date. In the letter that was sent out in March of 21.
And did
End
the
date.
engineer send that out?
Yes. So,
Do we need to create an end date?
I feel like we do. That's up to you guys. I know the Thompsons had emailed me yesterday and were thinking that they'd like to wait until this fall. Cause they were doing some redoing of CRP and whatever and shifting around some things and wanting to tile some areas. I just hate to keep billing people when the work's been done. So I feel an end date is needed. I just don't know when that should be.
What's typical?
I don't know. We've never done mitigation before,
Oh,
so I don't know what's typical.
You'd think you'd want it done in like a year's time so that you wouldn't have.
And it's been well over a year.
According to the engineer, typical was about a year.
I mean, and that was spoken but not written to anybody.
so when did that letter go out?
March of 21. And I looked at it yesterday. And it didn't say anything about an end date, just said that you would have to do it and then you would get reimbursed. Well, if it's, and I don't even remember, he may not have a lot of acres anyway. So it may not be a huge cost, but this year we're billing out $44,000.
My guess is.
And then next year, you know, if we have another, I feel like I'd like it to be done for the landowners.
I don't know if we can put an end date to where it all goes on this next one.
And that could be, because then they would have until July of 23. June 30. Sorry, June 30 of next year.
Well, that's certain, plenty of time.
Yeah, I don't think he has a lot of acres. I know which one he's talking about. It's right along the highway there.
Okay.
Hamilton has left.
And it's wet right now
Yeah,
on the north side.
and I don't want to obviously hurt anyone's land or do anything like that. I don't want to jeopardize anybody's program. I just would like
Can
to
it,
not bill
can it
people.
Has left.
move up? Can it move up more than that, than next June?
Well, either way, it won't get billed out until next year.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
If it was
so-
done by a certain date,
There,
Then
oh,
we
Yeah,
get
sure.
them.
Once June 30 comes, then I end it and then I start doing the tax billing for it.
I think.
that
probably
makes-
move that direction. Would
Okay.
we work with the engineer to do that?
I feel like we should have Rick, as the engineer, send out another letter.
Yeah.
That any mitigated acres that you want reimbursed by the district need to be mitigated by June 30.
Yeah, I think so.
Or even June 1.
Or they will
So
not
we
be-
have time
Or
to
they-
reimburse them because they need to get it reimbursed.
Or they will not be reimbursed. Of course, with the one case, it probably is gonna, doesn't really matter.
Well,
Paying half the
still,
bill anyway.
still, you know, I don't want to be unfair, even though
No, because
Yeah.
there's others, you say.
I know some have, so we're done and we've already reimbursed them.
Okay.
But there were only 5 or 6 people total anyway,
Yeah.
so.
I guess that would be
You
my,
just ask Rick to send out a letter that says June 1st and.
Yep. Yep.
Go from there.
you have to have action for that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's just a letter.
All right.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't have anything going on right
Because
now.
that was their intent originally. So.
I would think so, and I had been under the impression from the state that the Thompsons already had done it, so I never thought a thing of it. And then when I got this letter yesterday, or email from Scott, I'm like, I thought you were done, but they're not. So. Okay. Did you guys have anything?
I believe so.
Okay,
All good.
sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Soil borings at Public Health Edition site with possible action. That's what, you guys looked at these?
I did.
Did you understand them? Because I don't.
Well, I think there was identifying the northwest corner, I think, that possibly had some fill in it.
Debris.
Some cement or something buried in there. or
Trace
something.
of,
So there may be over excavation that needs to go on there if we're gonna build right there, or it might affect even parking, you know. I don't know how much of an area that was.
Sounded like it was just one corner.
So that's where I'd rather get an opinion from the architect on, it all depends on how we're gonna proceed with what, you know. At least he'd know driveway.
where the actual
I know,
footings would go.
Over excavation's not gonna be a big deal, that's a lower section. If it was in the basement, we gotta excavate anyway.
Mhm.
I don't see it as, I think, did it say what the area was total that had that in it?
Is that in the northwest corner of the grassy area?
Next to the driveway for the WPTA, I suppose. Front page, the one, or the one at the bottom, the one that touches your fingers.
This one here?
No, the picture. That one. So the borings, you see here, the borings were right next to public health.
Mhm.
And to the east of that, and then way over here by the trees, and then that must be the one that hit the debris. So we don't know how far the debris goes, probably. But regardless, I really don't think it's gonna add to the cost too much to dig out a few footings while they're digging. If we were trying to
Does
put a
anybody
slab
know
on,
what used
if
to
we were
be?
trying to put a slab on grade and we had to over excavate, well, here we're putting a basement in, possibly.
Mhm.
So I don't think
Is
it's.
there access from that road, from that north road will be to it
We-
then?
My hope was to have a driveway so you could go on through
Go all the way through?
around the building.
Mhm.
And it might, maybe some parking there.
Was there a house at one point on that corner?
That's what I was just gonna ask, what was used to be there? So it is probably an old foundation.
Back then, people didn't haul them away.
You just,
I found lots of those.
Mhm.
Burn the top part and bury the foundation.
So what action do we possibly need here today to just,
I would like to get an opinion from the architect first.
he basically just asked us what, like, because we said we wanted this to see what we were gonna do, if it was feasible to build on this. So basically, he wanted to know what we wanted to do. We want to continue to move forward on this site, or
I guess I'd still like his opinion on it if he thinks, because we have to put a basement there, if that's worth it. But my opinion is, yeah, I think it's probably worth
okay.
dealing with. You guys think that?
I do, I think that as well.
I'll get his opinion and tell him yours, and then
Northeast corner, 6 feet below the surface. You know, whatever's there, if you can get the chunks out of the way or whatever, it'd be pretty firm by now. It's been in there enough years.
All right, so that, we already did the action, right?
Unofficial.
I don't know that we necessarily need action. We'll just,
Put
talk
it back
to,
to him,
I'll talk to him, and
tell him we're not scared yet.
yep, I'll tell him that,
Nothing's making anybody nervous.
yep.
That's good.
So I don't know, at this point then, do we start having him look at the designs? Keep going with the designs, and then we decide if we're gonna buy the property or
Yeah, see where the,
acquire?
I'll just maybe see if we can get him back in here and just say what's the next steps and where do we go, and
Was he supposed to be working on some possible designs?
I think he sent some, I think I forwarded it to you a while ago, I can't remember. I will look into it,
Yeah.
I'll see
I
what he
guess
says.
if we do find something, resend it.
I would like that to take to the Board of Health as well, so that they kind of have a little overview of what's
Okay,
happening too.
okay, I'll see what I have. I'll
All
talk
right.
to him and we can go from there.
Let's move to 9, open forum.
That's not for open forum?
Do we have plexiglass for in front of him?
Can you please space these out?
Nice call.
We need a bigger room.
I mean, next go around, can you just? I was near death the
That's
first
something
time,
we
I
should,
don't really
we
want to
should
do it.
possibly at some point talk about it. We've been talking about maybe switching rooms for the meeting.
Going downstairs.
Down there, you know,
I
We're
like,
kind of waiting for things to transpire.
I like the idea of that.
We're working towards that.
we may end up down where Sandy used to be.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's almost like Hancock.
But, and you know it's gotta have better HVAC down there too, doesn't it? Than
That's
this?
fine.
Yeah. We
I have
call
no problem.
No, I mean just air movement, air.
Oh,
But you have this beautiful view.
yes, we give that.
We always have our backs
Oh,
to
there's
it.
some windows down there. We're in the right corner, we'd be able to look out the windows to the south.
I've stood and talked to Sandy Hotel.
Anything else for open forum, guys?
Saying if you space these out, it would
Duly noted.
claustrophobic over here. And
I think you're just a little upset at the accusations.
no, Chris can accuse me of just about anything. That's okay by me. Carla does it all the time.
Makes for a more interesting
Stop
day.
it. That's payroll and claims all mixed into one big happy family there.
2 weeks.
So did we have, yeah, we had last week's too, right?
Right. Because you didn't have last week, right?
I hope that's there.
Whatever.
Good memory.
So what?
You. How many of these meetings do you go to a week?
This is meeting number 5. It's some I attend 2 at a time.
I was just gonna say, how do you do Hancock and Worth at the same time?
Yeah, looking at
We
that.
have a computer over here, we have a computer over here, we have those recorders over there, then I have a mini television, it's also recording.
So they both live stream that?
Yes. The only one around here who doesn't live stream is Sarah Gordo, and I don't know why.
They voted against that a few years back. They did at one time, didn't they?
As far as I know,
Yeah, and then for some reason,
then it just came to a dead stop, and I don't understand why, because this is very convenient.
I heard something about
So
that.
have we changed our process on the time, the payrolls
Yes,
back to the old way?
yep.
Okay. You're gonna need your stamper then.
I have, oh, nope, one day I didn't bring it in because I was carrying in donuts. I think this one needs to be initialed or something.
Probably want to deny that one.
I was thinking too.
Sounds like a progressive commercial wherever. Deny.
Oh, the bikers union? Yeah.
Yeah.
Loyal Order of Riders.
What does Rick Grunno do for, county conservation?
I think he helps spray,
Seasonal.
Seasonal help.
I think he helps spray, the road ditches, I think.
He also drives buses to school, so.
Does he drive school bus?
Lots of action going on around outside of the courthouse today.
I would say parking is rather tricky.
Walking was rather tricky.
There we go.
I couldn't believe how many parking spots were available on the west side. I'm like, City Walker's open too.
I told, that's because I sent out an email and told all the employees not to park in the parking lot.
Oh, because.
You did? Oh, no wonder I found a place there. Oops. Yep.
Parked in my usual spot.
I was close to the edge, I'm on the grass, right there, you know.
But you're a dignitary, so.
Yes, it's true, I do carry that privilege.
Especially Democrats. Winnebago County is such a Republican county that we struggle to find Democratic workers.
I should put something out about that when I interview Kate. See what he says. Recruit people effectively. I'm sure he has all the answers. Anyway, yeah, so he called up and he said, or his office called up and said, we want to do an interview. And I'm like,
I see.
why do you want to do an interview in Winnebago County?
On top, no, I'm
It's the
the one.
most run county there is.
One top.
Should have let me know that.
Oh, I did, I just
Just make sure I didn't forget.
I said, I've worked with a poll worker, I see how they do it, they got it streamlined down. Yes, but we have to let the other counties know. Oh.
Yeah, right, EJ.
I can send you the tape. You're accused of all kinds of things, I'm trying to be nice.
I forgot to sign a second before I left.
I think you're good to go.
I like Paul. I think he does a good job.
He's fun. I ask him one question, he answers all of my other questions in like 10 minutes. I don't even start the question out. It's like, now as to the, okay, here we go.
And the thing about that job, it's nonpartisan. You know, he's just doing his job. He's not,
He doesn't take sides,
no,
which is hilarious because I've tried to get him to go one way or the other and he will not do it.
Yep.
Everybody else, yes, not him.
he just does his job.
So this morning I go from Chuck Grassley to these guys to pull tape.
You see Ted Cruz is coming to Clear Lake?
Yeah, he is, Ted and Chuck.
Didn't last week we talk about that the governor is coming back, is coming here again?
She's supposed to be coming back to the museum.
Museum.
Yeah, because they're dedicating on September 11th, the vault. And the reason why it's September 11th is because Terry has his class reunion on the 10th or something like that. So they just conveniently scheduled it right in there. And the word was, according to Kim, when she was there, she was going to come back for that, so.
I'll move to approve the semi-monthly county claims.
I'll second it.
Motion by Derby, seconded by Jensvold to approve the semi-monthly county claims. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passed.
Aye.
I mean, the next one.
Oh, I'll
Payroll?
make a motion to approve payroll claims.
I'll second.
A motion by Jensvold and seconded by Derby to approve the payroll claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Yep. Nothing else, guys? All right, we stand adjourned.